The first human signal reached the Galactic Council on a Tuesday morning, though the humans wouldn't understand that term. The transmission was crude by galactic standards, but it worked. It asked for one simple thing: membership in the interstellar community. Ambassador of the Empire reviewed the application with growing disbelief. The planet these creatures came from was labeled Class 12 in the database. That was the highest danger rating possible. The gravity alone would crush most species. The atmospheric composition would poison half the council members within minutes. The weather systems generated enough force to destroy starships, and the geological activity constantly reshaped the surface like clay in violent hands. "Impossible," muttered, his mandibles clicking in confusion. "How does anything intelligent evolve in such conditions?" His aide, a younger named, pulled up more data. The images showed vast cities, roads connecting them, and primitive spacecraft in orbit. The beings who built them called themselves humans. They looked soft, with no natural armor or weapons. They seemed weak. "Perhaps they're asking for rescue," suggested. "They might not know better worlds exist." Brought the matter before the High Commander Al, the most decorated warrior in history. Al had fought in 30 campaigns and won them all. His purple scales bore the scars of 1,000 battles. When he saw Earth's classification, he laughed. "These creatures need our help whether they know it or not," Al declared. "We'll accept their application, but they must understand their place. We'll relocate them to a proper world, one where they can actually survive. Earth will become a training ground for our warriors. It's the least we can do for such unfortunate beings." The council agreed. Most species saw it as an act of mercy. A few, however, weren't so sure. The representative, a floating jellyfish-like creature, made a quiet observation. "Has anyone considered how they survived long enough to build radios?" they asked. "Luck," Al answered. "Dumb luck and nothing more." 3 months later, the human delegation arrived at Council Station Alpha. The station orbited a peaceful gas giant, carefully positioned in the safe zone of its solar system. Everything about it was designed for comfort and safety. The gravity was set to galactic standard, 0.6 g, comfortable for most species. When the human ship docked, thousands of aliens watched the feeds with curiosity. The humans emerged from their vessel wearing simple blue uniforms. They walked down the corridor with easy, relaxed strides. Ambassador noticed immediately that something was wrong. "They're moving normally," he said too. "What do you mean?" "The gravity here should feel light to them. They come from a high-gravity world. They should be bouncing, struggling to control their movements. But look at them. They walk like the gravity is exactly what they're used to." The humans did more than walk normally. One of them, a female with dark hair pulled back tight, actually seemed to be enjoying herself. She smiled at the gathered aliens, showing flat teeth that seemed useless for fighting. "Greetings," she said through the translation device. "I'm Commander Sarah, representing Earth and humanity. We're honored to be here." Al met them in the Grand Hall, surrounded by representatives from 40 different species. He towered over the humans, his battle armor gleaming, his claws extended just enough to seem threatening. "Welcome, humans," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "The Council has reviewed your application. We see your struggle and want to help. Your world is too dangerous for sapient life. We'll relocate your species to safer colonies where you can actually thrive." Commander smiled politely. "That's very kind, but we'll have to decline. We like Earth, it's home." A murmur ran through the gathered species. Al's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand," he said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "Your world is classified as a Class 12. Nothing should be able to live there, let alone build a civilization. We're offering you salvation." "We appreciate the concern," replied, still smiling. "But we've been living there for about 300,000 years. We've got it figured out." Another human stepped forward. He was tall and broad, with dark skin and kind eyes. "I'm Doctor, Maybe we can demonstrate that we're capable of handling challenges. Al felt something he rarely experienced: irritation. These soft creatures were rejecting help from the greatest warrior empire in the galaxy. They were ignorant of how the universe worked. Someone needed to teach them. "Very well," Al announced. "You claim your world has made you strong. Prove it. I challenge you to the trials of 3 tests designed to measure worthiness. If you succeed, we'll grant your membership without conditions. If you fail, you'll accept relocation." The other council members gasped. No species had ever completed all 3 trials. They designed them to be nearly impossible. Looked at her team, they nodded. She turned back to Al. "We accept." The first trial would begin in 3 days. The humans were given quarters on the station, and most aliens expected them to spend the time preparing frantically. Instead, the humans explored the station like tourists. They visited the observation decks, tried alien food, and asked endless questions about everything they saw. Followed them discreetly, trying to understand these strange creatures. He watched Commander stop at a viewing port overlooking the gas giant below. Another human joined her, a young man with bright eyes. "Beautiful, isn't it, Commander?" the young man said. "It is," Jackson replied. "Reminds me of Jupiter but warmer colors." "You think we'll see more places like this?" "If we pass their tests, we'll see 1,000 worlds even stranger than this." Notice they didn't seem nervous. They seemed excited, like children about to play a game. It made no sense. Did they not understand the danger? On the second day, Al arranged a demonstration for the humans. He brought them to the training center where young warriors practiced combat. The warriors moved with lethal grace, their claws flashing, their bodies powerful and armored. "This is what you'll face," Al explained. "These are our youngest recruits, barely trained. Do you understand what you've challenged?" Doctor watched the warriors with interest. Their impressive, very aggressive style focused on overwhelming force, quick strikes to vital areas. Al blinked. The human was analyzing combat techniques like a scholar studying ancient texts. "You see strategy in this?" Al asked. "Of course," said, "though it's pretty straightforward. You rely on natural advantages, strength, speed, and armor. Makes sense for your physiology." "And humans have no such advantages," Al said coldly. Smiled. "We have different advantages." That night accessed human cultural data that had been included in their application. He watched videos of something called mixed martial arts, humans fighting each other in contests. He watched recordings of human history, wars fought with primitive weapons and then with increasingly deadly ones. He watched footage of humans climbing mountains, diving into oceans, running across deserts. One video showed a human woman swimming through freezing water, hunting for food. Another showed a human man running for hours across a hot savanna, chasing an animal until it collapsed from exhaustion. A third showed humans building cities in places where no other species would even land, on fault lines, in hurricane zones, next to volcanoes. Blood went cold. These creatures weren't survivors of they were the reason it was they were the apex predators of their entire planet. He tried to warn Al. "Commander, I think we've misunderstood the humans." "Nonsense," Al replied. "They're weak. Tomorrow's trial will prove it." The third day arrived. The humans boarded a transport ship along with observers and several council witnesses. They traveled to 4, a hostile moon that they used for survival training. The moon had 0.9 g gravity, considered extremely heavy by most species. Its atmosphere was thin but breathable. Temperatures swung from freezing at night to scorching during the day. Native predators hunted across its rocky surface. The trial was simple: survive for 72 hours. The humans stepped off the transport wearing light gear, carrying basic supplies. They looked around the barren landscape with interest, not fear. 72 hours starts now, Al announced from the safety of the observation ship. Commander took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the thin air. Then she smiled. "Feels like Denver," she said. The humans started walking across the rocky terrain at a steady pace. The observers noted with surprise that they weren't struggling with the heavy gravity. If anything, they seemed to be enjoying the lighter weight. "They're moving faster than expected," observed from the ship. "The terrain will slow them," Al said, but it didn't. The humans found a defensive position near a cliff face and set up camp with efficient, practiced movements. They didn't waste energy. Every action had purpose. By nightfall, they had shelter, fire, and a watch rotation established. The temperature dropped 40 degrees after sunset. The watched, expecting the humans to huddle in their shelter, burning through supplies to stay warm. Instead, the humans sat around their fire telling stories, seemingly comfortable in conditions that would send most species into hibernation. On the second day, one of the native predators caught the human scent. It was a six-legged creature with razor-sharp claws and armored hide, an apex predator on this moon. It stalked toward the human camp, moving with lethal intent. The humans detected it first. Doctor spotted tracks in the dust. "We've got company," he said calmly. "Big, carnivore, probably curious about the new arrivals." "Do we hide?" Jackson asked. Considered for a moment. "No, we hunted." The watching from orbit couldn't believe what they were hearing. These soft creatures were going to hunt a predator that regularly killed their trained warriors. The humans split into two groups and moved out with coordinated precision. They tracked the predator across the rocky ground, reading signs in the dust and rocks that even the observers missed. They moved upwind, staying quiet, patient. The predator never saw them coming. The humans surrounded it, cut off its escape routes, and Doctor brought it down with a precisely thrown spear. The entire hunt took 3 hours. That night the humans ate fresh meat, while the observers sat in stunned silence. "They're persistent hunters," whispered. "Like the ancient predators of legend, they don't give up, they just keep coming." The 72 hours ended with the humans in perfect health, well-fed, and actually looking disappointed that the trial was over. Commander looked up at the observation ship as they prepared to leave. "That was nice," she said. "Reminded us of home." Al stood in the observation deck, his claws digging into the metal railing. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unexpected. Fear. The second trial took place in the Grand Arena, a massive structure built into an asteroid that had hosted 10,000 years of gladiatorial contests. Species from across the galaxy filled the viewing stands, eager to watch the strange creatures face champions in combat. The rules were straightforward: hand-to-hand combat using standard galactic melee weapons. No firearms, no explosives, just skill, strength, and determination. 3 rounds, 3 different opponents. Al selected his champions personally. First was a young warrior known for his speed. Second was Rim, a massive fighter who had never been knocked down. Third was Al himself, unwilling to let anyone else deliver the final lesson to these presumptuous creatures. The humans chose Doctor as their fighter. He entered the arena wearing simple athletic clothing, carrying nothing. He looked soft compared to the armored, vulnerable, weak. Entered from the opposite side, his scales gleaming, his claws extended. He picked up a staff from the weapons rack, spinning it with practiced ease. The crowd roared its approval. Walked to the weapons rack and studied the options. He selected a simple wooden staff, testing its weight. Then he walked to the center of the arena and bowed slightly to his opponent. "Good luck," said through the translator. Didn't respond. He attacked immediately, moving with the lightning speed that had won him 20 consecutive victories. His staff became a blur, striking from multiple angles, too fast to follow. Blocked every strike. His movements were minimal, efficient, like he knew exactly where each attack would land before it arrived. The crowd fell silent, confused by what they were seeing. Increased his speed, putting his full strength behind each blow. Continued blocking, his breathing steady, his expression calm. Then, between one heartbeat and the next, Staff snapped out in a strike so fast that even the high-speed cameras barely caught it. Went down hard, unconscious before he hit the ground. The arena erupted in shocked chatter. The fight had lasted 18 seconds. Medical staff rushed to revive while Rim prepared for round 2. The Massive didn't bother with weapons. His natural strength had always been enough. He charged into the arena like a living tank, confident in his power. Set down his staff and waited. Rim grabbed for him with claws that could tear through armor plating. Slipped aside, using the larger fighter's momentum against him. Rim stumbled, confused by the human's unexpected agility and the heavy gravity. The arena was set to galactic standard, 0.6 G, which should have made the human slow and clumsy. Instead, moved like he was floating. He dodged, rolled, and struck with precise efficiency. Every hit targeted nerve clusters, joints, pressure points. Rim swung wildly, growing frustrated, his movements becoming sloppy. The crowd watched in disbelief as the massive warrior, undefeated in 200 matches, was systematically dismantled by a creature half his size. Didn't use brute force. He used leverage, timing, and knowledge of anatomy that shouldn't be possible. After 5 minutes, Rim collapsed, his body shutting down from the accumulated strikes to his nervous system. He was still conscious, but couldn't move. Helped the medical team carry him off the arena floor. The crowd was silent now. What they had witnessed, everything they understood about combat. The humans weren't stronger then. They weren't faster in absolute terms. But something about the way they moved, the way they thought, made them terrifyingly effective. Al descended into the arena for the final round. He had fought and killed enemies across half the galaxy. He had trained for 200 years. He would not lose to this soft creature from an unfortunate world. He selected a bladed weapon, sharp enough to cut through ship hulls. Picked up his staff again, twirling it once before settling into a ready stance. "You fight well," Al admitted. "Better than I expected, but you cannot defeat me. I am High Commander of the Empire. I have never lost." "There's a first time for everything," replied. They circled each other, both cautious now. Al studied his opponent, looking for weaknesses. Stance was balanced, centered, ready to move in any direction. His breathing was controlled. His eyes tracked every movement with unnerving focus. Al struck first, a probing attack designed to test defenses. Deflected it easily. They exchanged a series of strikes and blocks, each testing the other's skill. The High Commander realized with growing unease that the human was holding back, analyzing his technique. "You're learning as we fight," Al said. "Always," replied. "That's what we do." The fight intensified. Al used every technique he had mastered over 2 centuries. He varied his rhythm, attacked from unexpected angles, used feints and combinations that had defeated the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Adapted to all of it. When Al went high, was already low. When he feinted left, was moving right. It was like fighting a mirror that predicted his every move. The human was reading him, learning his patterns, anticipating his attacks based on the smallest tells in his body language. And then counterattacked. The staff became a blur of motion, striking from angles that shouldn't be possible with a straight weapon. Used the arena's lighter gravity to his advantage, launching himself into aerial strikes that the heavy could never attempt. He combined techniques from multiple fighting styles, switching seamlessly between them. Al felt his blade get knocked from his hands. He tried to grapple, using his superior size and strength. Flowed around his grip like water, striking pressure points that sent waves of pain through the High Commander's body. For the first time in 200 years, Al felt fear in combat. This creature from there was going to beat him. Staff touched Al's throat gently, a killing blow held back at the last second. Yield said quietly. Al stared at the human for a long moment. Then, slowly, he lowered his head in acknowledgement. The arena remained silent. No one cheered. No one moved. They had just witnessed something impossible. A human, a species from a Class 12, had defeated the greatest warrior in the Empire. Offered his hand to help Al up. The High Commander stared at it, then accepted. The human's grip was firm, controlled, surprisingly strong. How? Al asked. You're not stronger, you're not faster. Our world made us learn different lessons, explained. On Earth, being the biggest or strongest doesn't matter if you can't adapt. Everything there is trying to kill you. Predators, weather, diseases, other humans. We survived by being smart, by learning fast, by never giving up. You trained for 200 years. That's impressive. But my species has been fighting for survival for 300,000 years. Every single day. The council convened in emergency session that evening. The human victory had shocked every species present. Arguments erupted across the chamber. They're too dangerous, argued the representative, a creature. Did you see how they moved, how they adapted? They're predators. They showed remarkable restraint, countered the. Could have killed all three opponents. He chose not to. That makes them more dangerous, not less, the shot back. They have the capacity for violence but the intelligence to control it. That's a terrifying combination. Ambassador watched the humans sitting quietly in the gallery, observing the debate about their fate. Commander looked patient, like she had all the time in the world. Doctor was making notes on probably analyzing the arena combat for future reference. The young one, Jackson, was eating snacks he had bought from a food vendor. They didn't look dangerous. They looked normal, even friendly. That made them more unsettling. Al stood and the chamber fell silent. The High Commander's opinion carried enormous weight. I proposed these trials to teach the humans humility, he said slowly. I believed they needed to understand their place in the galactic order. I was wrong. The humans have taught me humility instead. Murmurs ran through the assembled species. They defeated me fairly, Al continued. Not through trickery or luck, but through superior skill and adaptation. They are what their world made them, survivors, fighters, learners. I move that we accept their membership application. With restrictions, added the quickly. No, Al said firmly. Full membership, no restrictions, they earned it. The vote was called. Despite the fear and uncertainty, the motion passed by a narrow margin. Humanity would be welcomed into the Galactic Council as full members. But there was still one trial remaining. The test of strategic warfare would take place in 2 days, giving everyone time to process what they had witnessed. Commander approached Al after the session ended. Thank you for your honesty, she said. I know that wasn't easy. You humbled me, Al replied. That's a rare gift. But tell me something, Commander. How did your species survive long enough to develop intelligence? How did you ever stop fighting each other long enough to build a civilization? Smiled sadly. We almost didn't. We came very close to destroying ourselves several times, but we learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned that our greatest strength wasn't fighting each other. It was working together. When humans cooperate, when we share our knowledge and skills, we become something greater than the sum of our parts. And the final trial, Al asked, do you know what it involves? Strategic warfare, said. Large-scale combat simulation. You'll throw everything you have at us. And you're not worried. Smile widened. Commander, we come from a world where everything is trying to kill us. Weather, animals, diseases, geography, and yes, each other. We've fought wars for thousands of years. We've studied strategy since before we had writing. We've made mistakes, learned from them, and refined our tactics through countless conflicts. You want to test our strategic thinking. She paused, her eyes meeting his. Bring your best. The warfare simulation took place in a massive virtual environment, complex enough to model entire planetary invasions. Al commanded a full battalion, 500 of his finest troops, equipped with standard galactic weapons and vehicles. He had access to air support, artillery, and advanced reconnaissance. The humans numbered only 50. They had equivalent weapons but fewer vehicles and no air support. By every metric, they were outmatched. The simulation began at dawn in a virtual mountainous region. Al deployed his forces using classic tactics, overwhelming force applied at key points, maintaining superior firepower, and using mobility to outmaneuver the enemy. The humans disappeared. Within the first hour, Al lost contact with 3 reconnaissance units. They reported movement, then went silent. When he sent larger forces to investigate, they found nothing but empty terrain. The humans were using the environment itself as a weapon. They moved through areas they considered impassable, climbing cliff faces that should have been impossible, swimming through freezing rivers, crawling through caves too tight for armored troops. "They're ghosts," reported from the command center. "Our sensors can barely track them. They're using natural materials to camouflage themselves, moving in small groups, hitting our supply lines." "Then we force them to fight," Al decided. "Concentrate our forces and push through their territory. They can't hide from 500 troops." The battalion advanced in formation, a wall of military power that should have crushed any resistance. The humans let them come. Then, when the forces entered a narrow valley, the trap sprang. The humans had prepared the battlefield. They triggered rock slides, cutting the battalion in two. They struck from elevated positions, using the terrain for cover and concealment. They employed tactics that Al had never encountered: ambushes from impossible angles, coordinated strikes on multiple targets simultaneously, and most disturbing of all, psychological warfare. The human forces started broadcasting messages to the troops, describing their movements before they made them, calling out commanders by name, demonstrating that they knew everything about their enemies' positions and plans. "How do they know our formations?" demanded. "Our communications are encrypted." "They're reading our patterns," realized, watching from the observation deck. "Just like did in the arena. They're learning faster than we can adapt." The forces tried to regroup, but the humans gave them no time. They struck constantly, wearing down the larger force through attrition and exhaustion. Whenever they concentrated their forces, the humans melted away. Whenever they spread out to search, the humans attacked isolated units. Al made the decision to deploy chemical weapons, a tactic that was legal in the simulation and designed to force enemies out of cover. The gas spread across the valley, a toxic cloud that would force any troops to don protective gear, slowing them down significantly. The sensors detected human movement through the gas, but they weren't slowing down. If anything, they were moving faster, using the cover of the toxic cloud to advance on positions. "Why aren't they affected?" Al demanded. Doctor's voice came over the communication channel, broadcast openly for all to hear. "Because we evolved on Earth, Commander. We've been adapting to environmental toxins for hundreds of thousands of years. Our bodies process poisons that would kill most species. This gas is unpleasant but not incapacitating." The human forces emerged from the chemical cloud like vengeful spirits. They overran 3 positions in rapid succession, capturing weapons and supplies. They turned their own artillery against them, demonstrating tactical knowledge that should have taken years to acquire. By the end of day 2, the battalion was scattered, demoralized, and running low on supplies. Al's carefully planned campaign had dissolved into chaos. The humans controlled the high ground, the supply routes, and the initiative. On the morning of the 3rd day, Commander broadcast a message to Al's command post. "Commander, we could end this now. We have your positions surrounded, but that's not what we want. We didn't come to the galaxy to make enemies. We came to find friends. So I'm offering you a deal: work with us instead of against us. Let's show these observers what humans can do together. Al sat in his command center, surrounded by tactical displays showing his deteriorating position. He could continue fighting, but the outcome was clear. Or he could accept this strange offer from creatures who had proven they were far more capable than anyone had imagined. "What do you propose?" he asked. "There's a third force in this simulation," explained. "The automated defense systems of this mountain region. They're designed to destroy both our forces. Instead of fighting each other, let's see if we can beat them working together." Al considered. It was unorthodox, completely outside the parameters of the test. But wasn't that exactly what these humans had been demonstrating all along? That they didn't follow expected patterns? "Agreed," he said. The combined force of humans began coordinating their efforts. The humans provided tactical flexibility and creative problem-solving. They provided firepower and discipline. Together, they identified the automated defense network's weaknesses, developed a joint strategy, and executed it flawlessly. By sunset, they had accomplished what neither force could have done alone. The mountain region was secure, and the simulation ended with both forces standing victorious on shared ground. The observers in the council chamber sat in stunned silence. They had expected to see humanity humiliated by superior tactics. Instead, they had watched the humans systematically outmaneuver a larger, better-equipped force, then demonstrate the wisdom to turn enemies into allies. The council convened for the final vote on humanity's membership. This time, there was no debate. The humans had proven beyond doubt that they deserved their place among the stars. But Ambassador proposed one amendment to the records. The Galactic Database entry for Earth would retain its Class 12 classification, but with an additional note. Commander was invited to read it before the full council. Warning: planet inhabited by persistent predators of remarkable adaptability and intelligence. Initial assumptions about species capability may prove dangerously inaccurate. Recommend approaching with respect and open mind. These beings survived their world not by being weak, but by being the apex predators of an entire planetary ecosystem. Smiled as she finished reading, then she addressed the council for the final time. "You called Earth and you were right, but you made one mistake. You thought surviving there made us victims, creatures that needed saving. You didn't realize that to survive on you can't be weak. You have to be the thing that everything else is afraid of." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of dozens of different species. "Our world tried to kill us every day for 300,000 years, whether predators, diseases, disasters, and yes, each other. And you know what? We won. Not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being smart enough to adapt, tough enough to endure, and wise enough to eventually stop fighting each other and start working together." She paused, letting the words sink in. "We're not perfect. We've made terrible mistakes. We've fought wars, destroyed our environment, and hurt each other in ways we're still trying to heal from. But we've also learned, grown, and changed. We've explored the most hostile environments on our planet and thrived there. We've sent our people to walk on our moon. We've built civilizations in deserts, on islands, in frozen wastelands and tropical jungles. We've turned it into a home. And now we're here, ready to learn from you, to share what we know, and to face whatever challenges the galaxy has together. Because that's what we do best: survive, adapt, and never, ever give up." The council chamber erupted in discussion, but Al stood and raised his hand for silence. "The humans are right," he said. "We judged them by their origin instead of their achievements. We saw weakness where there was strength, ignorance where there was wisdom. They have humbled the Empire, and we are better for it." He turned to face directly. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, Commander. Welcome to the stars. And thank you for teaching us that the deadliest weapon in the universe isn't the largest ship or the strongest warrior. It's the mind that refuses to quit, the spirit that adapts to anything, and the wisdom to turn enemies into friends." The vote was unanimous. Humanity was welcomed as a full member of the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. As the humans left the chamber, various species approached them with offers of trade, cultural exchange, and military cooperation. They especially seemed eager to establish strong ties, recognizing that having humans as allies was far better than having them as enemies. Young Jackson approached a group of warriors who had watched the trials and asked the question that had been puzzling him. Why did you really challenge us? Was it just to test us? One of the warriors considered the question carefully before answering. We challenged you because we were afraid, he admitted. Afraid of what we didn't understand. Your world should have killed you, but it didn't. That made no sense to us, so we tried to prove you were weak to make ourselves feel safe again. And now, Jackson asked. Now we understand. You're not weak. You're terrifying. But you're also kind, patient, and willing to teach instead of conquer. That's even more terrifying, but in a good way. Jackson laughed. We're really not that scary. You hunted a predator for sport, said flatly. You swam through poison gas. You outfought our high commander. And then you offered him friendship. Yes, human Jackson, you are absolutely terrifying. Back on Earth, the news spread across the planet in moments. Humanity had passed the trials. They were no longer alone in the universe. The stars were open to them now, full of wonders and dangers and friends they hadn't met yet. In his private quarters on the ship home, Doctor made a note in his personal log. First contact conclusion, successful beyond expectations. The galaxy sees us as dangerous now, which is fair, but they also see us as valuable allies, which is better. We showed them our capacity for violence, but also our capacity for cooperation and growth. Most importantly, we showed them that surviving doesn't make you broken. It makes you ready for anything. He paused, then added one final thought. They called they called us victims of circumstance. They were wrong on both counts. Earth didn't make us weak. It made us strong. It taught us to adapt, to endure, to fight when necessary and cooperate when possible. It made us human. And now we get to show the galaxy what that really means. Commander stood at the viewport of their ship as it prepared to jump to faster-than-light speeds, heading back toward Earth. Al had come to see them off and stood beside her, looking at the stars. Your people will change the galaxy, he said quietly. I don't know if that's good or bad yet. Neither do we, admitted. But we'll do our best. That's all anyone can do. One question before you go, Al said. In the simulation, when you had us surrounded, you really could have one, couldn't you? Completely destroyed my forces. Yes, said simply. Then why didn't you? Smiled, because we didn't need to. Defeating you wouldn't have proven anything we hadn't already shown, but turning an enemy into a friend, that proved everything. She offered her hand, and Al gripped it firmly. The galaxy should be more afraid of us than they realize, the High Commander said. Not because you're violent, but because you're persuasive. You don't just defeat enemies, you turn them into allies. Is that so bad? It's terrifying, Al said, but he was smiling. But I think it's exactly what the galaxy needs. The human ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying Earth's first ambassadors home. Behind them, they left a galaxy that would never look at, or their inhabitants, the same way again. And on Earth, 300,000 years of evolution and survival and adaptation, and warfare and cooperation and growth and learning continued, preparing humanity for whatever challenges waited among the stars. Because that's what they did. They survived, they adapted, they never quit. They were human, and the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant.